Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 30-minute lunchtime boost. We hope these have been a bright spot. We've been coming to you since April, and this is one of the last ones for the week and ending the month of June. So we're so excited that you're joining us today. I'm your host, Jen Maseda, the CEO of She's Local, the organization that brings you accessible, relevant, and relatable conferences and now digital live engagement opportunities to inspire local women, connect them, and move them along whatever path they choose. On today's boost, we are talking about strategies to support the reopening of communities, the perspective of businesses, as well as what can community members do to support and help their communities thrive. It's my pleasure to introduce our first expert, Beth Reynolds. Beth serves as the Economic Development Director for the Town of Ashland, Massachusetts, and is a powerful voice advocating for small local businesses, focusing on developing opportunities for them to increase visibility and marketability, as well as a strong voice for women in our community, serving as the founding board member for the metrowest Conference for Women. I added that in, Beth.
I like it.
Also, with us today is Courtney Thrain. Courtney is the Executive Director of Downtown Framingham, Inc., a Main Streets program that proactively works to support local businesses and creatively engage the community through trust-building services and real-time updates on local initiatives. And from my own Natick community, please welcome Athena Pandolf. Athena is the Executive Director of the Natick Center Cultural District, a nonprofit that strives to cultivate innovative events, cultural collaborations, artistic opportunities, and support the small businesses, local businesses, community of Natick Center. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, girls.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Courtney, I'm going to start with you. What are some examples of local businesses supporting one another during this really critical time to really support them in their psychological mindset of reopening and safely reopening?
That's a great question. Thank you, Jen. I just want to say I'm honored to be here. And there are a lot of informal networks with the downtown community where I work, and I've been really amazed to see how well they've been working together. A lot of the, like Concord Dental, for instance, Atlantis Dental, that's two companies, and they donated tons of masks to the businesses to help make sure everyone was all set on that end. Northeast Neon Lights, they're a manufacturer of signs, and they do neon lights, obviously, but they also can make plexiglass barriers. And so now we're in a position where we're trying to stand up cafe seating actually on the sidewalks that our city owns. And so Northeast Neon Lights, so we can help you fabricate these barriers on the sidewalk between the tables if they're needed. So that's something that's really cool, and that's something people can visibly see. And I was in the carpet store, Creative Carpet on Waverly Street there, and they're like, oh, we need to wait to give our customers carpet samples. And so I connected them with Detrapel, which is a company on Blandon Avenue, and they were able to work together to form a partnership there. So, but when it comes to the consumer-facing side, not the business-facing side, but that psychological mindset of the safety element, a lot of the businesses are shifting their focus outdoors, and they're shifting their marketing outdoors as well. And I can speak to not just the restaurant industry, but the retail industry, for instance. They've started doing marketing campaigns using the sidewalk as their fashion runway. Miss Chic, Pontanera Fashion, they have these beautiful models on the sidewalk doing videos, and that's just something to show downtown is safe, and the pandemic and those concerns, they can overcome them. And then Pans and Shoes is also getting ready to do sidewalk sales too. So they're really adapting and showing the consumers they're going to go above and beyond and use creative strategies to make sure that they can operate in a way that meets the needs of the consumer.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you've checked in with all of the Framingham downtown businesses and community leaders, and connected them in a much different way, obviously, than they ever expected to be doing, opportunities out, as you say, customer facing. Fantastic. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Athena, we're going to shift a little bit. Let's talk about the cultural opportunities within the community. And I definitely want the three of you to talk about your own communities, but also what ideas are you pulling from other regions that, that are successful elsewhere and could potentially be tailored to your community as well? Yeah, jump in, Athena. What are some partnerships that you've fostered? You are muted, so I'm just going to do that real fast. How that happened.
So much, Jen, for having me. It's great to be with these lovely women again, and we've been together before and talked about these great communities that we live in. So yeah, you know, it's been a really interesting time, you know, and so for our events, you know, we in the cultural district, as in other communities, we have an entirely, you know, year-long set of activities, and so obviously that went out the window. So we do also support the local business community, and I started having weekly Zoom calls with the community and the merchants in our memberships. And so something that came out of that, which then we kind of brought to our larger artist community, is one of them had the idea of how could we engage the community? This was back in March when it all started. You know, we can't have our events. How can we engage the community in something that's simple and easy for them and for the whole family to be a part of? But is also creative, but brings us together where we can't, it's something that we have to do socially distant, but we can still come together. And so the Love 01760 project was created. And that was really, you know, a few of us got together and just kind of brainstormed the idea of making these Love 01760 hearts. And people have sent in, you know, probably almost 1,000 hearts. And there's a Facebook page with that. And so it was just a really wonderful time. And a project that is still ongoing. We now have a mini hearts project. The big hearts are finished, but in July it's going to come together in a public art unveiling during our art walk event, which we hope we can have outside. But I think the point of this is, you know, really just kind of engaging the partnerships that you already have and creating those conversations with people, you know, and just bringing people together in new and dynamic ways to really, you know, come together. And this wasn't just supposed to be a Natick thing. This was, you know, a metrowest thing, and they came from all over the country as well. So that was really a great project that I'm really happy with, and that involved a lot of people. And so I did write a blog about it too, which is, so it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, you should be, Athena. It's been such a joy to see that. We're going to post your blog on our She's Local Boost private Facebook page. So yeah, we appreciate you sending that along. That's fantastic.
So I have to say, Jen, it was such a good idea that Ashland is doing the Circle of Love. So I have to say we're spreading the love through the Metro West area.
Awesome.
They're not hearts, but they're circles. So we have Circle of Love 01721, and we're going to be doing a public art installation in Town Hall in the next few weeks, just to sort of get it kicked off. And then we hope to have a few of them around town. But the same sort of feeling, you know, I think the time we rolled it out was a little bit different. I think people were getting a little stir crazy and a little maybe angry. So this helped to sort of boost that positivity and bring people together a little bit more. It's amazing what all of the organizations have done. I mean, you have things, I mean, Jen, you talked about other regions, but the Front Steps projects, the pictures, the photographers that have donated their time to take these pictures, to put in a time capsule or just to commemorate this crazy time. We've been doing some virtual events. We're doing a virtual culture fest in Ashland coming up, just to keep it going and to keep that spirit alive, I think, and bringing people together in a way that they can't be. The virtual runs, the same thing. I think those are all still really important, that we're doing it any which way we can, because people do want to come together, clearly. They just can't physically.
Yeah, and one of the most impactful pieces that you created in Ashland, I mean, you've touched that community in so many beautiful ways, Beth, but the spot was just such a lovely place to gather and to hear music and to be together. So, you know, way to pivot in a way that still brings people together in the same beautiful way. Let's talk about businesses that are reopening and how community members can support them. Beth, I want to come to you. So there are still businesses that are not open. How are you supporting them? How can our community, our audience, people that are going to watch this on YouTube later, how can we help?
So I think, I mean, they're struggling. Obviously, it's a struggle to get reopened. There's so many rules and regulations around it. So they're really struggling with that piece alone, let alone just figuring out how to get all their staff back in. I think the community, for the most part, the best thing that people can do, because social media is such a powerful thing, is to just be kind, to have extra patience during these times. I think that's what we're feeling, the stress from the business owners mostly, is that people will turn to social media with this courage to really hurt them if they've had a bad experience. And I feel like that's what I would urge people to do, is just be kind at this time. And if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all, or just direct it right to the business owner. But they need the support. They are obviously, they need the traffic. They need, they basically need kindness.
Yeah, and the patience. Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great advice. Thank you, Beth. Courtney, the businesses that are not yet open, how do you stay up to date with all the phases and be a resource for the community? Where do you find your resources, and how can we share that with our audience?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you, Jen. So I think most of the businesses downtown, they have opened or they're getting ready to. And it's been very challenging because you get the announcement to open only a couple days in advance, usually is what happens. And so I have an outreach assistant, Alex, and he actually goes and visits the businesses in person. And then we also email and call them as well to make sure that we can do a head count and find out how many masks do we need, how many plexiglass barriers do we need. And then the state has done these sector-specific industry guidance on the safety protocols and these checklists on how to reopen. The restaurant industry, it was very well translated in many languages, but the office and retail and some of the others were only in English. And so then we took the time and made sure we had those in Spanish and made sure they were posted when we visited the barber shops and the salons, et cetera, when they were opening. So we have a website, downtownframingham.org/playbook. And that website is crazy because it started during the pandemic when we were doing gift card giveaways every night, and we had like a virtual scavenger hunt, and we did all these consumer things on there. But that website has all these different grant opportunities that you can find on there with the Better Business Bureau. Some of them have closed. Our city has a small business grant opportunity too that you can apply for on there. So I try to keep all the grant opportunities on there as the guidance comes out from the state. And but I think our community has been awesome about supporting the local businesses. I know at least 6 downtown that are hiring more employees right now, which is awesome. And I think when I did these daily events back in April and March, you know, we had a lot of the same downtown folks that were really excited to go to the beer garden, you know, at Jack's Abbey or the beer garden Exhibit A, but they also wanted to get gift cards and go to Frescafe or Faux de Cow or the other restaurants too. So if you, maybe a way to help too, aside from what Beth said, like if you go out to eat, like maybe buy an extra gift card or two for a friend while you're out, or if it's a retail shop, see if they have gift cards too. I started making gift cards for businesses that don't have that capacity to have gift cards. So I'm like laminating them in my house and mailing them out with my thumbprint on there. So, but I think spreading the word and, you know, being positive and patient is huge. If you see something cool at one business, when you're in a business, like you can, you know, tell that business, instead of saying you should do it this way, be like, hey, here's a cool idea. You may not be able, you know, you're stressed out. You might not be able to implement it, but here's something cool that might be helpful and down the road. And like, we have time to breathe here. Everything seems like it's super fast. These things are coming out from the state, like one after another, but there is going to be a chance where we can kind of collectively breathe and still adjust and adapt and get better as 2020 continues. It doesn't have to be like the first half of 2020. We're almost to the second half of 2020. So.
Oh gosh.
I know.
Good reminder. I can't believe it. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Athena, I know that we don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think is going to happen with cultural events and businesses within Natick? I just saw on Facebook on a Natick Moms group, which knows everything, by the way, that the bakery downtown, the bakery cafe is closing. So what, give us a snapshot of what you think is going to happen in the near and distant future.
As far as cultural events go, it's really hard. I think with phase 3 opening, I'm confident that we can kind of find a way through this. So we're kind of planning that We're going to slowly kind of dip our toe in the water and maybe have a few outdoor events with some social distance spacing, you know, a few musical, you know, musicians out there, some maybe artists. So we're kind of thinking about slowly, just like everything's been reopening, slowly kind of having events and just seeing how it goes. We were talking about having Art Walk in July and then Multicultural Day, but we also want to provide a virtual element to that. So Natick Nights is usually something we do in June and July every Thursday. So we've had a few Natick Nights that are virtual. And, you know, people have responded to that. It's not the same, of course, and we want to bring people downtown and we want to bring them to the businesses. But as Courtney mentioned, you know, the openings are a bit staggered, and so people are still finding their footing where that goes. And Natick, too, has been wonderful. We started a new site, natick.business, which is really to help the businesses get everything they need. It's like a hub of information and ordering decals and things like that. So hopefully, you know, we've been able to support them as best as we can, but it is sad because there are, you know, a lot of restaurants and places that unfortunately will be closing because of this pandemic, and it's very difficult. And so I would hope that over the coming months, as we find new grant opportunities, that we can help support those that we know are in trouble. But with the events, I'm hoping that there won't be a fallback and we won't have to go back to phase one, and then we can just slowly kind of, with everyone being responsible, kind of move forward and just have events that are a little bit, you know, well spaced, and those that feel comfortable can come out, but also offer something virtually for those people who don't feel comfortable to come out to events. Yeah,
that's brilliant. All right, now is the time in our program where we are going to turn to our audience and ask if they have any questions. Amy has raised her hand so fast, she knows because she was on the boost. And hold on, I'm gonna unmute you. There you go, Amy.
Okay, sorry, I'm so eager. I had a question for any or all of you. And actually, before I start that question, so I live in Sudbury, so not any of your three communities. But the Ashland Circle project, it's interesting because Sudbury Art Association and the Wayside Inn are doing something similar. I'm not part of that particular initiative, but that does lead to my next question is what advice would you give to someone like myself who is interested in engaging at a more regional level? New England is sometimes a little unique that we're so, you know, we have a lot of small municipalities. So sort of curious on that front, what your thoughts were.
I think you might want to connect with the MetroWest Visitors Bureau. I think, you know, they're very much into the community and business and bringing them together. And if you're doing something cultural and promotional, that might be a good way to do it. There is also the chamber, which is very big too, and they're really like business focused. They do have some community events, but they're super business focused. So I think the Visitors Bureau is more consumer facing with promoting the businesses. So that might be a good way to get your fingers on and get some span across to the other areas. I have contacts.
Leadership MetroWest. Sorry, Courtney. Leadership MetroWest is a great place also to share, which we all happen to be. Leadership
I think we're all alma mater. That's our alma mater, isn't it? That's pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that's true, Courtney. I totally agree with you. I was going to say the same things, and I mean, just all, you know, sometimes it just helps me to think about like who do I know that could make changes. You know, just like partnerships, like Leadership MetroWest. People that you might know in certain sectors, whatever it is and wherever it is you want to go. Like the Mass Cultural Council is a great opportunity too. And they're wonderful. And, you know, I could always help you get information, you know, if you want to contact them. But it kind of depends on what exactly you're thinking about doing and who would be best to help you. But I would first think about, you know, who you know already that you have a relationship with, and maybe they can direct you to somebody else too.
I think looking at your network too, just alone, I mean, we, you know, Courtney and Athena and I talk, you know, we've been in different things together, and we always know that each other is there. So if we do have an idea that we can work together on, I mean, I can see this Love Project being something where people can travel to see these different art installations in different communities. Like I would want to encourage that for sure. I think there's just a lot of conversations out there that you can certainly have with anybody in the networks that you belong to, you know, as well. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Good to see you.
All right. Anyone else have a question? May want to make a comment? What's happening in your community? Janet, I'm coming to you. Go ahead, Janet.
You guys, how is everyone? I've just
Janet, how are you?
to these three rock stars, and I have to say I don't really know Athena that well. I've heard of you, but I've been following Beth just from, you know, all the stuff that I see on the source, and I, you know, talked to Susan Petroni with some of the great things, and I just loved your 72-hour turnaround with the restaurants. It just, I don't know how you did it. I know that Framingham's bigger. We have a lot more moving parts. But I think that you should be commended for your team in getting that, you know, put together. And Courtney, I don't know what we can say about Courtney because she is a rock star in Framingham. She is sort of the one that, you know, she's the fly below the radar, you know, but she's bigger than life because she's the one that seems to have her hand in anything and everything that seems to be, you know, getting Framingham to the next step. It's always, well, if you talk to Courtney, yep, she's the first one I talk to. You know, we have a, you know, we're still somewhat of a new city. We have a, you know, we have a new EDIC director. We've had a lot of turmoil in our planning department. Just everything's all up in the air. We have new people coming in. We don't have a vision. We don't have a master plan. We have another new city council that just came in, you know, in January, which I'm one of, that it's only really been, you know, since January, and we've only met for 2 months, and then we were basically in lockdown. So we're trying to put a lot of things. We have a lot of good plans that we want to do, but the problem is it's tough to implement, especially with all of the things that we have going on. But, you know, Courtney has really done a great job at downtown with pulling the leaders and the business owners because the people that are necessarily are running the businesses aren't the business owners. They don't own, or I should say the building owners. So that's another whole situation you're dealing with where you have, you know, as being a business owner myself and owning rental properties with our tenants, some of them, they can't pay their rent. So, you know, you're really dealing with so many components here that, you know, and then you don't know what the governor's going to do. And if we open too soon, we see what's happening in Florida and Texas and some of these other states where we don't want to go back. We can't go back. So I'm really more making comments that, you know, for the three ladies, the Natick, you know, these rock star trifecta here that are really helping this, you know, Natick, Framingham, Ashland have a lot more similarities than not, I would imagine. And I think that you guys have really given a lot of hope to people that are, you know, that want to do things, and seeing you guys take such a proactive, you might say, oh, I'm just doing my job, but, you know, it's kind of above and beyond that, you know, stepping out when, you know, or stepping up when, you know, we're in a pandemic, which is not only are people economically crushed, they're mentally, I mean, people have lost 4 or 5 months of their income, their life, their kids have been homeschooled. I can't imagine homeschooling my kids. I would just probably, you know, I would be in a bar every night. I give to all the moms, hats off to you all. So that was really my comment. I just wanted to just,
Janet's lucky she's got a bar in her house, so that
Jen's laughing a little too hard because she's picking up what I'm putting down, right? Anyway, that was really my comment. But
I totally agree. And you know, based on what you just said, Janet, Athena, Courtney, Beth, is there something that we can do? You know, She's Local is obviously here to help you and to help our community of women. What are some things that are really blocking the way right now, and what can we do to help? You want to each of you take a moment to share that, and then we are almost out of time.
No, I think it's just a matter of waiting. You know, we just have to sort of wait to see how it is, and I think that's what's crushing. So in the meantime, whatever help that She's Local can give to any of these businesses for marketing purposes, I think is really something that I'm going to be focusing on in the next month. Just to make sure people know they're still there, they're coming, if they haven't been opened already. and that they should, support them.
That's good. And Beth is mentioning that She's Local has an opportunity for any business, whether they're run by a woman or not, to jump into our platform and push out information. So Athena and Courtney, and Beth already knows this, but we have a program for small businesses and large businesses called We Are Here and We Are With You. And they can upload a 90-second video and we will push that out through all of our platforms that's in metrowest, Merrimack Valley, Pioneer Valley, and the South Shore. So please share that around with all of the economic directors across the state. We'd be happy to help in that way.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jen. Those are great resources. There are so many women-run businesses in downtown Framingham, women of color specifically, and they all have families and kids, and they're doing everything, and it just amazes me. Like, I'm in awe of them. And I think just, making sure that they can reach out to DFI, or they can reach out to Beth or Athena in whatever way, capacity. We have our own responsibilities that, we have to meet on our end for our respective organizations. Like, we have to make sure we're sustainable too, so we can help them. And I think women understand that, and that we all have to take care of each other. And so I think, as we move through the second half of 2020, just trying to make sure when new information comes out, we get it out there, and we can always just be there to call for them to contact us. And I think it's that sense of care is that womanly nurturing when running a business is what helps a lot of these businesses be around for decades.
Yeah, and thank you, Jen, for mentioning that. And I'll definitely mention that to our members about She's Local. And, I just wanted to say too, everything that everyone has said, I think that to be kind, I think check in with, in your community, the businesses that you really care about and that you go to and have a relationship with, check in and say, how are you doing? How can I help? I mean, can I help promote them on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or something like that? Because everybody's different and everybody is at a different space and everybody has different needs. So that's what's kind of difficult, and something that we all love about our jobs is that every individual business is different. And some of them, you never hear from them until the end. And some of them you hear from them because they need support, right now. And so it's a combination of things. It's be kind, it's helping how to support them. And obviously, local food pantries, and as well as businesses and people that are still in need. And it's also just, let's be honest, the second half of this year, I think people have to obviously think about and consider, if they can, supporting places like Beth, you don't need support monetarily, so to speak, but for Courtney and I mean, I run a nonprofit and Courtney runs a downtown. I mean, it's especially important to, support us as well sometimes. And and that doesn't mean necessarily monetarily, but, maybe there's volunteers and ways that we can help, because we do so much. So thank you so much for having us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, the three of you. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Athena. Thank you for all that you do in our communities to help them survive and thrive. We're really grateful.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, that was the 20th episode of She's Local Boost. Congratulations. We've got one more on Friday, and then we are taking a break for July, and we were preparing for the metrowest Conference for Women and the South Shore Conference for Women, both going virtual. You heard it here first.
Wow.
And you'll hear more about that. So stay tuned. We're going to have such a great time in September and October. And thank you for being here today. Always such a pleasure with these amazing rock stars. I totally agree. So thank you, girls.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Take care.